like 1:45 in the morning on April 25th. As you can tell, I am in the hospital. Things happened very quickly. I literally just uploaded the 34-week pregnancy update a couple days ago, and on Thursday the 22nd, I believe it was 23rd, I had a doctor's appointment with my midwife to check on Brax. I was 34 weeks 3 days, and I had to do an NST, so I did the NST before my appointment, which was a bad idea. I should have done it after. And I got there at 4 for my appointment for the NST, and I was getting my NST, and let's just say it took them 2 hours not to see the accelerations that they wanted. They'd see the accelerations, but not as frequently as they want to or should. And so I had my appointment with my midwife that was supposed to be at 4:20, that was actually at 6 o'clock because of how my NST took forever. And I was the last patient there because the clinic closes at 4:30. And so we did my appointment, we talked about everything, and she was like, I think maternal is probably going to want to take you at 37 just because of everything with like my fluid levels. They were at a 32, normal is a 25, and mine was a 32. Mine dropped down to a 29, which was really good. And then, yeah, so she was like, let's go put you on the monitors one more time. Let's see if we can get baby boy to be a little more active. And it didn't happen. So she sent me to labor and delivery. So I went home and I picked up my boys and Tom, and we dropped my kids off at my parents' house, and we got something to eat because I had really not eaten a whole lot. I ate like snacks and stuff, especially like through my NST. But I hadn't actually like ate since in the morning, and it was 6:30. So we got something to eat, and then we went into labor and delivery. They proceeded to do the NST for about half hour, 45 minutes, and usually whenever I fail an NST at my clinic, I go to labor and delivery, and it's like, you're fine. That wasn't the case this time. He was doing the exact same thing that he was doing at my clinic. And so they did a couple things. They put an IV in to hydrate me to see if that would help. They what else did they do? It's kind of a blur, and I'm really tired. They started talking to Kathy and the on-call doctor to see what they wanted to do and what was going to happen. They tested my blood sugars, and it was a little high. So I got admitted because my blood sugars were high and they couldn't get them to come down. It was at 210. And then at about midnight, my contractions picked up, and they were about 2 minutes apart. So they tried to give me some pills to get the contractions to stop. And we went until about 1:30, 2 o'clock, and they were getting worse. They weren't getting better. The medicine wasn't helping. So they checked me for dilation, and I was dilated, she said, in between a 0.5 centimeter and 1 centimeter. So there wasn't like a lot of progress, but obviously that's still progress from being closed a week before. And so just between, I had ketones in my urine. I will always have ketones in my urine because I'm a diabetic, but I had elevated, and so my blood sugar was high. They did what's called a BPP, which is where it's like an anatomy scan, but they look for certain movements from the baby. And he passed that with flying colors, so he was really good. He started to look a lot better on the NSTs as they were monitoring him, but then my health would decline. So then it turned into me being the the problem. And they tried to give me a morphine shot for the pain and the contractions. It helped with the pain a little bit, but I could still feel my contractions. And so Kathy and the on-call doctor made the decision to go ahead and take me via C-section. So at 7:03 a.m. on April 24th, Braxley was born. He weighed 5 pounds, 13 ounces, and 19 inches long. He is in the NICU. His lungs didn't just open up all the way because he is such a preemie. They've already lowered his oxygen levels. He is on, it looks like it's just two, like, the nose things for your oxygen, but it's actually through a CPAP machine. And they're actually going to get rid of the CPAP machine in the morning and put him on regular oxygen because he's been doing so good. So, cross fingers, he doesn't spend a whole lot of time in labor or in NICU. So, yeah, it was just like a whirlwind. Like 1 minute I was pregnant and the next minute I was having, it was just like Briley all over again. So, yeah, I'm in the hospital. I'm tired. I'll do an update in the NICU in just a little bit. Okay. Hey guys, so today is April 27th. The video that I made that's kind of like crappy because I was laying in bed and not really feeling the greatest. I'll put the date for when that was recorded right here because I honestly couldn't tell you. I think it was the night of the 24th when I had him. So today's the 27th. I'm in the hospital still. I'm going home tomorrow morning. Brax is still in the NICU. He's doing really good. He's not on oxygen anymore. He still will sometimes get put on like the flow, just kind of like push it, but he's on oxygen, so that's good, and that won't prevent him from going home, and then also he won't go home on oxygen because of that. He's feeding really well. He was a little jaundiced, so he was under the lights yesterday. He was like borderline this morning, so they went ahead and gave him a break for today, but they're going to check it tonight and then maybe put him back on him tomorrow. He's on a 5-day antibiotic, and he has to finish those antibiotics. So hopefully he'll be able to go home Thursday-ish. Today is Monday, so yeah, so I'm in my recovery room. I just took a shower. My room is a freaking mess. This is like all of my stuff. There's like Brax's diaper bag. And I just ate dinner, so my side of the room is like I just ate dinner. My side of the room is a hot ass mess right now. I'm just getting ready to go pump. And I'll show you the pump that I'm using. That they're actually gonna, it'll be the same one that they send me home with because I'm gonna get a rental. And then I'll get a prescription as well for a breast pump because I didn't get one. So this is a breast pump that I use. Isabel's, and it's a double, but I usually just use one. And then there's my stash of bottles and stuff. So yeah, so they just weighed him yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before yesterday? I can't remember now, but he was 5.5 pounds. At birth, he was 5'13". So he had lost a little, but I mean, that's pretty average, pretty normal. Yeah, I'm just ready. I'm ready to go home, you guys. I'm feeling pretty good right now. These are his footprints. I'm feeling pretty good right now. This recovery has been rough because I also got my tubes tied. And okay, I don't know how Tom had this standing up because now I can't do it. And then my boys got me flowers, and then Tom got me this present to like symbolize him and I. My mom and dad have the same one, very similar, except theirs is moose, and so he wanted to get me one because he knew that I liked that. So, and then I'm also wearing this tummy band for after like C-sections that the hospital provided me. Oh, like my bruise. It's a wonderful bruise. It didn't even hurt. It's just a blood draw that went wrong. It didn't hurt, but she blew the vein. So yeah, I'm up and walking and moving. I did too much my first day, so that set me back, but I'm here, I'm up. Like I said, I just took a shower. I feel like a whole new person. Yeah, except I got a really bad headache, so I'm gonna pump, and then when I go to the NICU, I'll be sure to put some clips of the NICU in there for you guys. I'm recording him. So he's 5 pounds, 6.5 ounces today. He's small.
18 inches long.
18 inches long.
Yep.
Is it possible?
Foot and a half.
Is it possible for them to go backwards in length?
You're not supposed to go backwards. You're supposed to grow.
Daddy's gonna feed him his bottles and probably change a poopy diaper.
Mom's changing.
No. 2 for 1.
Just looking around.
I know.
Really looked around over there.
He's falling asleep. Text Mama. I told her to. Oh, he's going cross-eyed. Text Mama. I told her you weigh 5, 6.5 today. The stats look really good too. Stats look perfect. Hey guys, so as you can see, I'm still in the hospital. Tom and I went and, fed Brax today. That's the last footage that you just seen. And tonight's my last night in the hospital, which I am so happy. I'm happy, but I'm not. I am sad because I have to leave the hospital without Brax tomorrow, but happy because I spent probably a good 90% of my time here alone. Okay, I wouldn't say 90, but at least 80% of it alone. Tom had to, he was going back and forth between being here and taking care of the boys, because the boys would go to my parents' house, but they wouldn't spend the night because the boys just didn't want to spend the night. And and I'm totally fine with them going to my parents' house because my mom's working from home and my dad is furloughed right now, so it's the best place for them to be because nobody really goes out anywhere or anything like that. So they're pretty much just quarantined in their house. So my boys will go over there, and yeah, so he'd come here during like the day and then go home, get them, and spend the night with them, and in the mornings, and then yeah, he was just going back and forth, but he ended up spending a lot of more time with them at home these last 2 days, just because they've kind of been feeling a little neglected, which, I mean, I know they haven't came out and said that, but just because of how chaotic everything's been the last like 4 or 5 days now, because this all started on Thursday the 23rd when I went in for my NST. So yeah, so I know I explained what happened in my last video, but yeah, it was just very chaotic. My NST went from it wasn't the first time where my NST wasn't going that well in the clinic that I go to until I got sent to labor and delivery. That was actually the 3rd time that Brax had done that, and like the first time I went to have my NST done, I failed, and I was sent to L&D, and I think that was like my very first NST at 32 weeks exactly, the day I turned 32 weeks. And so I went to labor and delivery, and I was there for like a half hour, and he was fine, and I was sent home, and that was it. And then Thursday, that same week, I had an NST again, and he passed, and everything was fine. And so I went home. I didn't end up getting sent to L&D from that appointment. And then that following Sunday at 32/6, I started contracting really bad at home, and I contracted for about, what did I say in my 34 week update? It was like the 511 rule, and I was following the 511 rule. And so I went into labor and delivery, and I was in labor and delivery for 3 hours, where they were able to stop contractions with a medication, like just a pill. And he looked great, and everything was fine, and I was sent home. And then I didn't have an NST that Monday because at 33 weeks, because I had had one the night before. So Thursday at 33 weeks, 3 days, I had another doctor's appointment with my midwife, and I had an NST afterwards that once again I was sent to L&D for, because he just wasn't having the accelerations that they wanted him to have. And so I was sent to L&D, and that time I was in L&D for 6 hours, because once they got him to look really good on the monitors, I started having contractions again. And this time I ended up having shots in my arms to stop the contractions, and it worked. And then I forgot to mention, at 32 weeks, when I had my NST and I felt I went in, and I started having contractions or whatever that following week, when I was there for 3 hours. So I believe that was Sunday at 32/6. I had the steroid shot, and then I went in at 33 weeks exactly and had the second steroid shot for his lungs, and which I'm so glad we did, obviously. And so at 33/3, I was in labor and delivery for 6 hours while they tried to get my contractions to stop. And then I was sent home once they got them to stop, and everything was fine. And then 34 weeks exactly, I was due for an NST. I just didn't get the NST that day because my husband wasn't able to take off work, and I wasn't able to take my boys over to my parents, so I wasn't able to go in and get my NST done, obviously. And so the clinic I go to is closed on Tuesdays, and you don't do NSTs 2 days in a row, like back to back. They have to be like a couple days apart. And I already had my appointment set for Thursday, so I was like, well, I can't have an NST on Wednesday and then an NST again on Thursday. So I'm like, this week I'm only gonna have one NST, because obviously I'm not gonna go in on Friday after my NST on Thursday, and my clinic's closed on Saturdays and Sundays. So literally Thursday was like the only day I could get my NST done. So at 34 weeks, 3 days, I went in. So it was just this past Thursday on the 23rd. I went in for my NST, and my appointment to see my midwife was at 4:20. They tried to get him to have accelerations to avoid sending me to labor and delivery again, because every time they sent me to labor and delivery for a failed NST at the clinic, I go to labor and delivery, and I'm fine. So they were like, we're gonna try to avoid this time. So my midwife worked for 2 hours, and he would have accelerations. He just wasn't having what she wanted to see specifically. And so 2 hours after my appointment time at 6:30, and 2 hours after the clinic was closed, and I was like literally the last person to walk out of the clinic. I actually kept my midwife and the nurse there 2 hours past their shift closing. They sent me to labor and delivery. I went home, I picked up my husband and my kids, and we took them to my parents' house. And then my husband and I stopped and got something to eat because I was starving. And then, which I'm glad I ate. Little did I know what was going to happen. And then we get to labor and delivery, and once I get to labor and delivery, he's not doing what they want him to do this time. So I was on the monitors there for about an hour or two, and then they started an IV and to see if hydration would help, like maybe get him moving. I was drinking cold water as well. And then they checked my blood sugar, and my blood sugar was 210. And so they waited an hour during that hour to see what my sugars were gonna do, because I told them that I had given me insulin because I had ate before I got there. They did a BPP, which I mentioned in my last video, which is just like almost like an anatomy scan. They just look for certain movements and certain breathing movements and stuff like that, and he passed that with flying colors. And it's just like a more advanced way to check for like stress in the baby. He passed that with flying colors. They were just kind of worried because of his NST, but he was fine. And so they checked my blood sugar, and an hour later, and it was 213, even though I hadn't ate anything now for, I think it was like, this was close to 3 hours after I had ate anything. And it was going up even with my insulin in my body. So then they decided to go ahead and admit me into labor and delivery because they wanted to monitor my sugar throughout the night and try to get them to calm down, and then they were going to talk to maternal in the morning to see what they suggested we do as far as like getting my sugars more regulated, because I had elevated ketones in my urine, which I'm a diabetic. I'm gonna have ketones, but when they're super elevated, it's signs for like DKA and stuff like that. So ketones were in my urine, glucose obviously were in my urine, then my high blood sugar, and then they were, the NST wasn't that great. They got him to start looking really good, and then that's when my health plummeted, and then I started having contractions really bad around midnight. And so around 12:30 or so, because I was being admitted, they swabbed me for COVID-19, and it came back negative. Duh, but it's just hospital policy. And then they tried to give me the pills again to stop the contractions. You get four pills total every 15 minutes, and they weren't stopping. And I was like, okay, because I was like, okay, they're gonna give me the pills, it's gonna stop, I'm gonna talk to somebody about my blood sugar, we're gonna get it figured out, and I'm gonna go home, whatever. And that wasn't the case. The pills were not working, and they weren't slowing down. Sorry, I thought I heard someone knock on my door. The pain was still very real, it's just very, very intense. So then they went ahead and checked me for dilation. I was closed during my other 2 premature labors that they were able to successfully stop. I was closed. This time I was dilated between 0.5 centimeter and 1 centimeter, so there was progress. It wasn't a lot, but it's still progress. So now I'm dilating, and so they called the doctor and my midwife, and they consulted with each other, and they came back with a decision to try giving me morphine, 1 for the pain, and 2 to see if it would get the contractions to stop. And if they said if it didn't work and everything continued on the same path, within an hour they were taking me via C-section. So they gave me a morphine shot. The only thing the morphine shot did for me was help my headache. I had a slight headache, but my blood pressure wasn't elevated. Everything looked really good, so it wasn't like preeclampsia or anything like that. So I think it was just a headache because I had been crying, and it was just because my husband had went home thinking I was just going to get discharged the next morning because he went home to be with our boys. And
when I realized things were not gonna go that way, I called him and he immediately jumped up, took the boys back to my parents' house and was like, sorry, they're gonna have to spend the night. My mom and dad were obviously more than fine with that. The boys, however, were not, because they knew something was happening, and they've been very clingy to Tom, which is pretty normal for them. But they weren't very happy about it, but he's like, I'm sorry, and so he left them and came running up to here at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I had Brax at 7:03 a.m. via emergency C-section. I don't know if you'd call it like an emergency, but it kind of was because it wasn't scheduled. So yeah, he's still in the NICU. He's doing really good. He's not on oxygen anymore. He did have, like I said earlier, he did have to be under those lights, but he hasn't been under them today. They're going to check all his levels tomorrow, and yeah, he's been doing really good, so I'm just hoping for the best at this point, that he gets to come home soon, because I leave the hospital tomorrow, and after today's events with the hospital and them trying to overdo it on my insulin and having me bottom out with my sugars 3 times now, I'm ready to go home. So that'll have to be for another video, because they don't know what they're doing. And I wish they would just listen to me. My A1C is really good for doing everything old school. It's 7.1, so I'm like, just let me take care of my insulin. Let me tell you how I do it and how it works for me, instead of you trying to do it and make me bottom out in the 40s 3 times. So it's frustrating, but I'll have to get in that another time, because I'm not going to get into that. That had me in tears today as well. So I'm just sitting here in my room. So this is my room. So this is my bed. And then there's like a little bed over there. Tom had pulled it out and was sleeping on that for a little bit one day. He just would come and take naps here. Poor thing. My husband's been going back and forth between me and the boys at home and trying to get things ready for me and Brax to come home, and he's been running around with a chicken with his head cut off. So yeah, so there's that, and it pulls out, and then the mattress like flips. Oh, there's a mattress that pulls out and it turns into just like one solid bed. And then that's Brax's diaper bag, which we didn't really need, but there was a blanket in there that I took over to the NICU. And then just like bags of stuff. And then there's my bed. And then I have my tray. And I've been using this to prop up the camera. And then there's a bathroom. And then TV. And just like a little sink. It's the computer for the nurses. And then there's the pump and my pump supplies. And then the front door to go out into the hospital. So it's a fairly decent room. I've been really, other than with my insulin, which has nothing to do with the nursing staff here on postpartum, because they just do what they're told, obviously. It's the OBs that are trying to run my insulin when they don't really know how to run it, and they've even admitted that to me. So it's not them. So, but my nurse, my staff, like my nurses and stuff, like my CNAs and, just, everybody, they've, like the lactation consultant, like they've all been super amazing. The lactation consultant tried to come in when I was crying today over my diabetes stuff. She like walked in and I was like, can you come back in just a little bit, please? And she's just like, okay, and like walked out, and then she never came back. So I'm like, well, I wasn't like trying to be rude. Like I was just in the moment of having a really big breakdown, like really just big moment. And I hate crying in front of people, especially people I don't know. So I was like, can you just go? Can you please leave? Like I was being polite. I wasn't rude. Boy. So yeah, and then there's my lovely bruise that I showed you earlier today. That's lovely. It doesn't hurt, but it's getting so ugly. Like, it looks so bad. It's like, I don't even know. Yeah, it just looks so bad. So My feet are swollen, so that's good. My nurse has already checked, it's normal, but yay. And then I've been eating these. Oh, as I drop a whole bunch on my bed. Oh, I dropped them all over. Hold on, I just made a huge mess. And I don't want it in my bed. Like, the worst thing in the world is when you get crumbs in your bed. That's like the worst thing in the world. Earthquake. Not funny. Utah had a pretty big earthquake. And I felt it. Okay. Let me try this again. So I've been eating these as I'm still making a mess. It's open in the back. There's other lactation cookies. Lactation cookie bites from Milk Makers. Munchkin Milk Makers. They're actually really good, and they sell them by the individual pack like this at Walmart, or they sell them by like the big box. And so since they work, and I like them because I just started eating them 2 days ago, I only got 2 bags just in case I didn't like them. So I got this one, and then I got the same one that I already ate yesterday, and my milk is full blown in. Like I'm pumping anywhere from like 4 to 6 ounces, and he's only 3 days old, so definitely recommend those. Another one of my CNAs recommended the Body Armor drinks. She said that they helped her milk come in. She said that those lactation cookies did not help her milk come in, but she ate them anyways because they were good, which they are good, but she said she started drinking Body Armor drinks, and all of a sudden, like, her milk just flowed really heavily every time she would drink one. So Tom went to Maverick, or the gas station if you don't know what Maverick is, and got me this one and another one. This one is sugar-free, but it still has quite a bit of carbs. It's got 14 grams for every 2.5, for every 12 ounces, sorry. For every 12 ounces, there's 14 grams of carbs. And while I'm in the hospital, they're freaking out over my carbs, so I'm not drinking it right now. So that's why I haven't opened it. But I'll drink it when I get out of here tomorrow. So I'll see if it helped me like it helped my CNA. So yeah, so there's my update. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get out of here. I'm tired of being alone. Like, I don't get to have my mom or my best friend up here. No visitors, just mainly me, myself, and I. And I don't even get to have Brax in my room with me. So, alright, so anyway, that's the last part of my birth update. I know it's not much. I didn't really get to do the vlog because, like I said, everything just happened so fast that I didn't even get a chance to. So but yeah, I will make a vlog tomorrow with me going home and me coming up to the NICU for the next couple of days, or hopefully not couple of days, but you know what I mean. And then when Brax gets to come home. So watch for those, and I'll talk to you guys later.